The Rabbit by the Tree Stump? Long, long ago, in a small village in the ancient kingdom of Song, there lived a farmer. No one remembered his name. The villagers simply knew him as a hard-working man. Every morning, before the sky had fully turned blue and while the roosters were still dozing on the rooftops, the farmer would wake up. He would put on his old faded clothes, pick up his hoe, and leave his house. The morning breeze carried the gentle scent of soil and fresh grass. The farmer walked along the little village path toward his fields. His farmland was not very large, but it was the hope of his entire family. In spring, he planted his seeds. In summer, he pulled weeds and watered the crops. And when autumn came, he looked forward to a harvest full of golden grain. Although the work was tiring, the farmer rarely complained. He believed that if he worked hard, the earth would eventually reward him. And so the days passed quietly, until one morning something completely unexpected happened. That morning, the farmer was working in his field as usual. The sun was slowly rising higher into the sky. A little bird flew above his head. The farmer stopped for a moment and looked up. Just then, he heard hurried footsteps coming from across the field. Rustle, rustle. The farmer turned around. A rabbit was running toward him. It was running incredibly fast. It seemed frightened by something behind it. The rabbit wasn't watching where it was going. It simply ran forward as quickly as it could. The farmer stood there, watching in surprise. And then, thump! The rabbit crashed straight into an old tree stump beside the field. The field suddenly became very quiet. The rabbit lay beside the stump and did not move again. The farmer stood there in disbelief. After a moment, he slowly walked over. He looked down at the rabbit. This? He could hardly believe his eyes. He hadn't chased it. He hadn't set a trap. He hadn't done anything at all. He had simply been working in his field when a rabbit had come running straight to him. The farmer picked up the rabbit, and a big smile appeared on his face. What incredible luck! That evening, he took the rabbit home. His family enjoyed a delicious meal together. As the farmer ate, he kept thinking about what had happened that morning. The more he thought about it, the more wonderful it seemed. If a rabbit had appeared today, would another rabbit appear tomorrow? Perhaps there might even be more. A strange idea slowly formed in his mind. The next morning, the farmer went to his field as usual, but this time he did not pick up his hoe. Instead, he walked over to the tree stump, and he waited. Maybe another rabbit will come, he thought. An hour passed. No rabbit. The farmer continued waiting. The sun climbed higher. Still no rabbit. He began to feel tired, but when he remembered the rabbit from the day before, he decided not to leave. Just a little longer, he told himself. Perhaps another rabbit will come soon. So he sat beside the tree stump and waited. By noon, several villagers had passed by. They saw the farmer sitting beside the stump and wondered what he was doing. One of them asked, "Why aren't you working today?" The farmer smiled. "I'm waiting for a rabbit." "A rabbit?" The villager looked confused. The farmer pointed toward the tree stump. "Yesterday, a rabbit ran into this stump and died. I think another one might come today." The villager couldn't help but laugh. "Do you really think rabbits are going to run into the same tree stump every day?" The farmer simply shrugged. "It happened yesterday, so it could happen again. I just have to wait." The villager shook his head and walked away, but the farmer stayed. One day passed, no rabbit. The next day, still no rabbit. The third day, nothing. But the farmer refused to give up. He had begun to believe that he had discovered a wonderful way to live. Before, he had to wake up early every morning. He had to bend down and work in the fields. He had to plant seeds, remove weeds, and carry water. But now, all he had to do was sit here. Perhaps another rabbit would simply come to him. He thought he had become clever. Why work so hard? He often told himself. If the rabbits are going to come to me on their own, all I have to do is wait. The days slowly passed. Spring ended. Summer arrived. The sun became hotter and hotter. Cicadas sang loudly from the trees. Chirp, chirp. The farmer sat beneath the shade. Sometimes he even fell asleep while waiting. Whenever he woke up, the first thing he did was look around for a rabbit, but there was nothing. One day, a little boy passed by the farmer's field. The boy looked at the field, which was now covered with weeds. Then he looked at the farmer sitting beside the tree stump. He was curious. "Uncle, do you sit here every day?" The farmer nodded. "Yes. What are you doing?" "I'm waiting for a rabbit." The little boy blinked. "Will a rabbit come?" The farmer was silent for a moment. Then he answered, "It will." But after saying those words, even the farmer wasn't sure whether he was answering the boy or reassuring himself. More days passed. The crops in the field were no longer cared for. Eventually, almost nothing grew. The farmer became more and more anxious, but he still refused to leave the tree stump, because if he admitted that another rabbit would never come, he would also have to admit that he had been wrong. So he continued to wait, day after day, year after year. The old tree stump remained quietly beside the field, but the rabbit never came again. Eventually, everyone in the village knew about the farmer. Some people laughed, some felt sorry for him, some simply shook their heads. They said, "That farmer gave up his entire field just because a rabbit happened to run into a tree stump." And at last, the farmer understood. One evening he sat beside the tree stump and looked across his abandoned field. The sun was slowly setting. The sky turned a warm golden orange. A gentle breeze moved through the grass. For the first time, the farmer noticed how quiet the field had become. He lowered his head and looked at his hands. Those hands had once held a hoe every single day, but now they had not truly worked for a very long time. The farmer let out a quiet sigh. "I understand now. That rabbit was only an accident." He finally realized something important. The rabbit was not the reason he had lost his harvest. It was because he had mistaken a moment of luck for a reliable way to live. The farmer slowly stood up. He picked up the old hoe that had been lying nearby for so long. The field had already been abandoned for months, but he decided to start again. On the first day, he cleared only a small patch of land. On the second day, he cleared a little more. On the third day, he turned the soil. Little by little, the farmer began working again. This time, he no longer waited for a miracle. He knew that a rabbit might appear or it might not, but the soil still needed to be prepared. Seeds still needed to be planted. Crops still needed to be cared for. And life had to be lived one step at a time. Several months later, the field was green and healthy again. Young plants swayed gently in the breeze. The farmer stood at the edge of the field and looked at everything he had rebuilt. A peaceful smile appeared on his face, and the old tree stump was still there. But this time, when the farmer walked past it, he did not stop. He simply smiled. Then he continued walking. Night slowly fell over the village. The moon rose quietly into the sky. The village became peaceful and still. The farmer returned home. He washed away the day's tiredness, climbed into bed, and closed his eyes. That night he did not wait for another rabbit, because he had finally learned, some things may come to us by chance, but most things in life require us to take action ourselves. We should be grateful when good luck finds us. But what truly changes our lives is the small step we choose to take each day. Outside the window, the gentle night breeze moved through the fields. Moonlight fell softly across the quiet land. The old tree stump stood silently beneath the moon. And in the distance, the fields waited patiently for the morning sun. The story slowly came to an end on that peaceful night. Good night. May you let go of all your worries tonight. You don't need to know what tomorrow will bring. Just get some good rest. And when morning comes, take your next step slowly and gently. Good night.